Have you ever heard the phrase, never take points off the board? We're going to talk about that and more as we look at the 2022 edition of the NAIA Football Championship Series. First round scores and stats here on Midwest Sportsnet today. I'm Joey McWilliams. Thanks for watching. We will not bury the lead. We will get right to this from Columbia, Kentucky. The 8-9 matchup today, and I know there were a lot of big games today. One upset. This one could have been another upset, at least on paper. The number 8 seed, Lindsey Wilson, hosting the number 9 seed, Reinhardt, today. And Reinhardt, after taking a national runner-up finish back in 2017, had lost 4 consecutive first-round games. How are they going to fare today? Well, we'll see. Lindsey Wilson got off to a 3-0 lead, and the Blue Raiders were up 3-0 at the end of the first half. Ian Souter with a 24-yard field goal. 2 more in the third quarter from 42 yards out and 38 yards out. And then a Kobe Belcher 10-yard touchdown run puts Lindsey Wilson up 16-0, and that's the end of the third quarter. Meanwhile, Luke Bowman gets a 95-yard interception return at the start or midway through the fourth quarter. And you have to think, if you're a Lindsey Wilson fan, well, this one's pretty much in the books at this point in time. A 23-0 lead midway through the fourth quarter. Most folks may have thought it was over. In fact, the radio announcers were making plans to see who they were going to be traveling to next week. But that wasn't all, because Reinhardt decided we're not done yet. Hunter Arders says, hey, listen, I'm going to have something to say about this one more time. Hunter Arders then leads the team down the field, and a pass to David Friedberg, 55 yards out. And the 2-point conversion puts Lindsey Wilson's lead to just 15 at that point, 23-8. After an onside kick, Reinhardt gets it back down the field again. This time Arders to Kamanta Stockdale for a 7-yard touchdown pass. 4:50 left on the clock. 2-point conversion good. Lindsey Wilson's lead has been cut into, again, 23-16 after another 2-point conversion. So Reinhardt's not done. A defensive stop. The Eagles get it back. They drive down the field. And it was going to be this time Hunter Arders to Lewis Morris for 11 yards, touchdown, 18 seconds left on the clock. Reinhardt is trailing 23-22. They kick the extra point. It's 23-all. We're going to overtime. Except we're not, because Lindsey Wilson had too many men on the field. It was a penalty. So Coach James Miller decided that we're going to take this point off the board. Being 1 yard closer to the goal line, we'll go for 2 here. And that's what the Eagles went for, 2, and came up 1 yard short and fell 23-22. At the end of the day, it winds up being a Lindsey Wilson victory, 23-22 overall. They took the point off the board, could have gone to overtime, but it comes up 1 point short. So now Reinhardt 0 for the last 5 in first-round playoff games in the NAIA playoffs. For the day, Hunter Arders 20 for 37, 268 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. David Friedberg, 3 receptions for 98 yards, and that touchdown pass to really get the rally going, the 22-point rally in the second half of the fourth quarter, but it came up short. Meanwhile, for Lindsey Wilson, Ethan Cash, 11 for 28 passing, 128 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Kobe Belcher with 33 carries, 137 yards, the 1 touchdown run. And Luke Bowman had 9 tackles and that interception return that proved to be the game winner. A 95-yard interception return, the pick 6 that proved to be the game winner. And that was the final there. Lindsey Wilson 23, Reinhardt 22. Another final, and this the upset of the day, as it proves to be the only one, at least on paper. Kaiser had 3 losses on the season, none of them to NAIA schools, and now are 8-3 on the year, as Kaiser also has a huge fourth quarter rally. Bethel at home, they're in McKenzie, Texas. This is just the second meeting between these two schools. Bethel won the first one a few years back, 52-7. Wasn't going to be the case today. Got up 17-7 at the half. Joaquin Callazo, the third, 2 touchdown passes, both to Davius Prather, 21 yards and 13 yards, and a field goal just as the first half expired. Then that was a 17-7 lead that was taken into the fourth quarter, but it would not last. It's going to be Shea Spencer to Jalen Arnold, 71 yards out. First minute of the fourth quarter, they get another touchdown on the board. 17-14 is the score. Michael Robinson catches a 62-yard touchdown pass 6 minutes later. Bethel takes the lead, 21-17. After that, it was Chance Gagnon with field goals from 32 yards out and a defensive stop and another field goal, this one from 47 yards out. Those two field goals on the day provide the final 10-point margin. Kaiser now 8-3 and the number 12 seed with a victory over the number 4 seed, 27-17. That was our big upset of the day. Shea Spencer, 11 for 25 passing, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Of that, Jalen Arnold, 3 receptions, 107 yards receiving. Michael Robinson, 1 reception, 62 yards receiving. Jaden Meisinger, 28 carries on the day for 176 yards and a touchdown for Kaiser. Wendell Fallord with 10 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack. And Jalen Willis with 8 tackles and 1 interception. For Bethel on the day, Joaquin Collazo III, 17 for 32 passing, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Davius Prather, 7 receptions, 126 yards receiving, and those 2 touchdown catches. And J.D. Dixon had 7 catches for 112 yards on the day. Jacoby Griffin for the Wildcats, 15 tackles on the day in the losing effort. We move on along, and Iowa was the place to be for football in the NAIA. Morningside, the number 1 team in the country, gets another victory. This is number 25 in a row, and 11 straight in first-round games in the NAIA playoffs. Morningside got off to a 21-0 lead. And by the way, in Iowa, the temperatures, and if you're up there right now, you know the temperatures really never got above freezing. In some places, the wind chill, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, was below 0. It was a cold day in Sioux City at Morningside. The wind was a huge factor on the day. In fact, if you didn't have the wind at your back, you didn't score in this contest. Morningside gets up 21-0, steady dose of Ryan Cole throughout. Joe Dolenchek did not get the start. It was Cale Bird in at quarterback to get the start, and Lennox Brown also saw some time at quarterback on the day for Morningside. 21-0, that was the score at the half. Arizona Christian gets the wind in the second half, even though Morningside did get the ball. They got the wind, and that was key. 3 touchdowns in the second half. No extra points, though. Nestor Higuera, for the first time this season, had 2 extra point opportunities that were missed. The first one was blocked. The second one went right. And the third one looked to be a fake, possible 2-point conversion try. That didn't succeed either. And so Morningside took a 21-18 lead into the fourth quarter. Morningside, 2 more touchdowns in the fourth quarter, including a Lennox Brown 2-yard touchdown run. Ryan Cole on the day, 44 carries. That tied a school record for rushing attempts, 208 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns for Ryan Cole. Cale Bird, 4 for 13 passing for 31 yards, had 1 touchdown pass. Zach Norton received that touchdown pass, 2 receptions for 22 yards. For Arizona Christian, just could not pick up first downs over the course of the day, especially in the first half. And 18 third quarter points. Duncan on the day was 18 for 42 passing, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Maurice Roquette with 10 catches for the day, 132 yards receiving, 1 touchdown catch. So Morningside will advance. The number 1 team moves on. The number 2 team in the country moves on. This one was a little bit closer. There were winter conditions advisories and advisements that were out in Des Moines as the temperature did not get above freezing, and the wind chill factor was predicted to get as low as possibly -5. Don't know about that. Maybe if you can let me know in the comments, tell me how your team did from where you're watching today. Did it get to -5 there in Des Moines? Grandview with a 3-0 halftime lead, that courtesy of Nathan Hamilton, and a 21-yard field goal in the first half. Now, Hamilton's field goal did not prove to be the game-winning field goal. However, it proved to be the margin of victory in the game. And if you go back, Hamilton's been key for Grandview this year. Back against Benedictine, all the way back in early September, it was a 44-42 win for Grandview. That's why they're still undefeated, by the way, and why Benedictine has just the 1 loss on the season. 44-42 with a Nathan Hamilton 52-yard field goal way back in September. He gets the field goal today. It proves to be the game-winning margin. Carroll got a touchdown. Grandview gets a touchdown. Grandview another touchdown. Carroll gets a touchdown. Johnny Sullivan on the day, 16 of 27 passing for 168 passing yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The first one goes to Carson Rollage, and that was he had 6 catches for 73 yards, that 1 touchdown. Nate Wilcoxon, his 1 catch of the day was the game-winning touchdown in the third quarter, 17 yards out. Nate Collins also for Grandview with 8 tackles, including 3 tackles for loss. Carroll, Jack Perka did a great job, and the future is just bright for the Saints with Perka in at quarterback. 18 for 35, passing 183 yards in that brutally cold weather. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 to Tony Collins to get the scoring going, 97 yards receiving for him for the day in that 1 touchdown. He had 7 catches. Carson Ochoa with 3 catches on the day, 29 yards receiving, and the 1 touchdown. Just not quite enough to get back in after the Grandview lead was there. Again, Grandview 17 and Carroll 14. We move on along to Northwestern, and the Red Raiders today really had no problem with the Blue Hawks. 49-7 was the score. Orange City, it was just a dominance performance there for Northwestern at home. Touchdowns on the first 5 possessions, and on the day, rushing yardage proved to be, well, really the key statistic. Northwestern with 236 yards rushing, Dickinson State just 25. Jalen Gramstad, another big day as he has just really taken his role as quarterback from the midpoint of the season, and he has just been shining. 11 of 17 passing for 201 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions for Gramstad. He had 10 carries and 97 yards. And 3 touchdown carries as well, responsible for 5 touchdowns on the day. Cade Mosier with 4 catches, 76 yards. He received those 2 touchdown passes from Gramstad. Connor McQuillan, 16 carries, 124 yards, and 1 touchdown on the ground for McQuillan. Parker Fryer led the way on defense for the Red Raiders with 6 tackles, 2 of them for loss. For Dickinson State, Aaron White, it was a tough day for the Blue Hawks today. 16 for 29 passing, 163 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, was sacked a couple of times. Caden Kuntz with 5 of those catches for 64 yards and received the touchdown for Dickinson State. So we move on along, and we're past the halfway point here. Thanks for watching. Please let me know in the comments section from where you are watching this broadcast on this Saturday or whenever you happen to be watching it. Indiana Wesleyan, in its first real playoff appearance, actually had a playoff appearance last year, but self-reported an ineligible player, and it registered as a loss. So it says it's their second. This is really their first, and they're taking on another team in its first playoff appearance in Avila. First meeting between these 2 teams, and it was snowing in Marian, Indiana today, and that probably slowed things down just a little bit. It led to the first real score of the day. Indiana Wesleyan goes back and forth. Avila struggling. And then a 9-yard punt gave Indiana Wesleyan good field position, just 35 yards out, 5 plays, and a 2-yard touchdown pass from Xander Stokes to Charlie Hill. Put the Wildcats on the board first. They're up 7-0 just before the half. Another touchdown score for Indiana Wesleyan. 5-yard touchdown rush for Tadarian Williams, who on the day had 33 carries for 173 yards. And that touchdown. Indiana Wesleyan's up 14-0 just before the half. Malik Nesbitt on a long drive, one of the longest drives of the day for the Eagles, finishes it off, a 77-yard drive. He had a 1-yard touchdown carry. It puts Indiana Wesleyan up 14-7, and that was it. Second half, not much going on. For Avila, Eli Williams, 10 of 17, passing for 95 yards. No touchdowns, was intercepted once. And Malik Nesbitt on the day, 21 carries, just for 67 yards, did have that 1 touchdown. For Indiana Wesleyan, Xander Stokes, 11 of 20 passing for 80 yards, the 1 touchdown pass. Williams, Tadarian Williams, we mentioned those 33 carries. And Javon Taylor on defense for the Wildcats, 11 tackles for the day. A couple of more games to report from around the NAIA first round, and the one from Marian itself. Now, Indiana Wesleyan in Marian in Indianapolis, and it was cold there as well. Marian with a 41-7 victory over St. Xavier. Marian up 14-7 at the half. It was Zach Bundelow to Ben Stevens, 2 touchdown passes in the first half. That takes care of the Knights' points, and it was all Marian after that. The defense stepped up, did its job. 2 pick sixes in the third quarter. Logan Blake and Peyton Trexler responsible for them. Another Bundelow to Stevens pass, and at the end of 3, it is 34-7. For Marian. 1 more touchdown from guess what? Bundelow to guess who? Stevens. And that results in the final score. Marian 41-7, Zach Bundelow 14 for 22, 270 yards passing, and 4 touchdowns, no picks. Ben Stevens, 10 receptions, 157 yards on the day, receiving 4 touchdowns. For Marian, Jake Paris, 6 tackles. Dion Pettiford, 5 tackles, and 1 sack, 1.5 sacks. Meanwhile, for St. Xavier, it was Stuart Ross, 19 for 27 passing, just 110 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks on the day. St. Xavier had just 9 yards rushing on the day. It was a tough day to move the ball around all the way around. And the final score, final one today, this one, the All-Kansas matchup, Benedictine, well, it was all Benedictine when it was all said and done. Ravens move on. Ravens with just 1 loss on the season. We've talked about that, as this one was a tough loss in the final seconds to Grandview. Other than that, Benedictine's unscathed this season. This in Atchison today, a little cooler, not quite as cold. Well, it was cold. May not have been, Grandview cold, but it was cold. Atchison up 21-0 at the half, all Benedictine all the time. At that point, Garrett Kettle had a touchdown run and a touchdown pass. He finishes the day 11 of 19, passing for 225 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day, no interceptions, 10 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown as well. Jashawn Todd and Austin Buteau for Benedictine, each 2 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Both equal stat lines there. Dalton Witherspoon, 15 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown as well. And on defense, it was Tyler Wilson with 6 tackles, 2 of them sacks. Zach Gill led the way for the Ravens on defense with 10 tackles. For Southwestern, the season comes to an end. Luke Barnes in for Brad Cagle, who was in for just a bit. Barnes, 19 for 37 passing, 267 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And Keyshawn Jones with 9 receptions for 145 yards on the day. He was responsible. He was on the receiving end of that Barnes touchdown pass, the only touchdown for the day. Southwestern struggled, to say the least. They're 0 for 5 on 4th down, just could not get that one on through. And then a final score last night as the NCCAA Victory Bowl was held in Waxahachie. We were there for that. Olivet Nazarene got 21 points on the board in the first half, and we're up 21-3 at the break. Sagu came back, 13 points in the second half. Keaton Dudick finally got things going, but it was just not quite enough. The Olivet Nazarene defense holds. Cameron Crouch with a big night for Olivet Nazarene, and the Tigers end their season with a win. So those were scores from around the NAIA first round action today. And if you saw your team in there, I hope it was on the winning side. 8 winners move on, and we will find out just a little bit later on today who will be playing whom in the next round. Not quite a true bracket as you might think. So the playoff pairings for the quarterfinals will be announced pretty quickly, and we'll be on with that a little bit later on. Shout out to all the folks who are watching. Thanks to everyone for stopping by and watching this here on Midwest Sportsnet. Hey, please take the time, like the video, share the video, and if you would, please subscribe to the channel. We would really appreciate that. It helps us out. We like talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. Thanks for watching. God bless you. Have a great day.